Hi, and welcome to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. CVJS and I walk as allies and in solidarity for equality, justice, and respect. Black Lives Matter. This month, we are celebrating women more than ever. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is Claudia Schreier, choreographer and resident choreographer for Atlanta Ballet. Claudia and I this is our first conversation together, and she is our 70th guest. So quite a wonderful episode. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Um, I I have to say it at the outset, even though it's later on in the questions, that you and I share that resident choreographer title for Atlanta, and I love it that we share that and we're talking now. So that's just something I had to say at the outset.
Yeah, it's such an honor to come after you.
Oh, thank you so much. So first question for everyone: where in the world are you right now?
Currently, I am in Atlanta. Uh,
Great.
I'm very happy to be here and actually working in person with the dancers, which hasn't been the case for a year. So, really excited to share that.
Oh, congratulations. I'm about to actually go out on my first in-person choreography. I feel like it's a debut also, after this year. I'm getting so excited about it that my reality doesn't involve Zoom for this particular creation. Thrilled.
That's exciting.
So I'm going to jump right in. I would like to start with your BA in sociology from Harvard. Since I was a senior in high school, sociology has interested me. The last year in high school was at San Francisco Ballet High School. It was an experiment, and our main teacher was a PhD in sociology, so I got to read his books. And so that, first of all, really fascinated me. So the question is, has this area of study impacted your choreography, or I guess the way you build communities? I guess that's another perhaps more specific question. And how does it has it helped you, or does it helped is a wrong word, has it shaped the way you create spaces and, yeah, micro societies, if you will?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Now more so than ever, I think, because particularly after the events of last summer leading into today, we all became sociologists in a way. And I really love the way in which conversations have developed to the extent that there isn't this division between being an artist and being a citizen assessing society. It all has blended in such an impactful and truly important way. And so, when I began choreographing, I perhaps didn't fully understand the extent to which those worlds would blend. Um, but of course, in the beginning, when you're in a studio, you're creating individual steps, like you're setting individuals, and then you're creating these larger, formations that become impacted by the dancers that you're working with. So the abstract dance itself, and then the people that you bring in to create your art form, there's so much to that. But then when you start talking about society as we know it and as we live in the world, it becomes so much more tangible and important to address how change comes about through action and conversation and decisions, and that is now bleeding into the work that I make now. And so whereas before, like I said, they used to be just these abstract separate concepts in my mind, now it feels like they are finally kind of coming full circle in my career.
Well, so wonderful that this actually opened up this period of time, right? This growth we're in opened up a connection in you, opened up a place that was already there, but like, you know, like the axons and dendrites in the brain, it kind of like there was a beautiful agency in the connection. You could take it in without the separation. Gorgeous. I always felt like that was a part of what I felt when I was dancing professionally. You know, I would always kind of, I've always been kind of an anthropologist and standing back and looking at how these micro societies within the company, I mean, you know, the cliques, and then how we end up all gelling together and then it kind of disperses again. That always interested me as a choreographer as well. Yeah, I find human beings endlessly fascinating, just across the board, the choices we make, why, how, where, what. I can't wait to see your new work because I'm sure that's happening now in Atlanta, these ideas, right?
Yeah, so we premiere my new work. It's a 20-minute ballet called Pilates Dances. It goes up on March 19th, and it'll be available online starting
Wonderful.
Friday. So final stretch now.
What's the cast? How big is it?
It is 10 dancers, 5 men and 5 women.
Great.
And so there is no, and then actually 12, including a separate duet that comes in and out. So 12 total. And that couple is married, and so they are the only ones who are authorized to touch, of course. And so it's been a welcome challenge to create a ballet where there is no partnering. I really love engaging with partnering. I love figuring out the puzzles of one, arms and legs intertwining, and that's one of my favorite things to do. So to be able to like take that love and put it on bodies that can't interact in space, it's kind of opened up new channels for me that I probably wouldn't have discovered otherwise. So I really, I mean, for so many reasons. And the entire thing, I have to say, was choreographed on Zoom. I'm here now to clean it right ahead of the premiere, but it was entirely done on my screen in my little room many miles away. So
Yeah, yeah.
a change.
So where is your so like me, I didn't live in Atlanta when I was resident. So you where are you actually, where's your residence?
Yeah, usually I'm based in New York, where I'm from.
Oh, okay. That's
I have been for a time. I was in Charlottesville in Virginia, and now I'm based in Chattanooga in Tennessee. So I'm commuting from Chattanooga to Atlanta right now, and then after that, hopefully back to New York in the next few months. But just been bouncing around a lot. Yeah.
great. And then you also have a secondary degree. Is that an MFA?
No, it's the equivalent of a minor in
Oh, okay. In
it's essentially a minor in dance.
oh, beautiful. Okay, and so what the focus was dance, and that was also at Harvard. And I know Harvard has a dance department as well. Was that with Jill Johnson, a former colleague of mine?
No, so I did have the pleasure of meeting Jill, but it was with Elizabeth Bergman, who was there throughout until up past when I graduated. I graduated in 2008. And so the difference now is Harvard now has a concentration, the equivalent of a major in theater, dance, and media. But at the time, we didn't have that. The dramatic arts secondary was actually established during my time at Harvard, and so for the most, you could take courses, and we had extraordinary courses, and we had amazing artists like Christine Dakin come in and teach an academic, like a academic and dance course on Graham. So we certainly weren't lacking for incredible dance, like scholarly dance opportunities. But I certainly didn't go to study dance. When I went there, I thought that this was just something I would have to hang up my shoes, do it on the side, shift my interests, and there was such a wealth of opportunity and talent and community at Harvard, regardless of whether there was a major, that it really, that's where my love for dance truly solidified. I was always a bunhead. I love ballet. Didn't really know where it was going to take me once I went to school, and that ended up being the catalyst for my entire choreographic career, ironically. But it really wasn't because of studying dance day to day. It was finding my community and finding these courses and finding these opportunities to dance and choreograph and engage with other disciplines. And that's where it really all started. And so it's really exciting now that there is this program that's kind of established and official. But we had our own version of that even before.
Yeah, Claudia, I didn't know that it had become a major, but it's a major in dance,
I
theater.
think theater, dance, and media. I don't want to say that wrong, but I think that's the title of it.
So it's a mixed degree. It covers. So I assume that you're getting that degree encompasses those three, or can you still have a focus?
I don't actually know,
Oh, you
but
don't. Right.
yeah,
I'm really happy for Harvard. That's fantastic. Go, Jill.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, right on. So, oh God, I keep wanting to call you Claudia. It's my German. I'm so sorry, Claudia. You trained at the ballet school in Stanford under the director Stephanie Marini,
Mhm.
and then directly on to Harvard. So you actually just talked about this. What drew you to choreography? Well, no, we can still get it. What drew you initially? Was it your experience at Harvard? And no, okay.
Yeah, it was long before. My parents like to tell the story of me, dancing around and making up steps when I was 2 years old in our New York City apartment. So even before I knew that I was interested in choreography, it was just something that came naturally to me. And then it's funny, I'd forgotten. I started telling my story as saying I choreographed my first work as a duet to Swan Lake when I was 15, but then I really thought back and I'd actually created a solo for myself when I was 12 years old for a summer camp talent show performance. And it was to Arabian music from the Nutcracker. And I was so, like, I don't have the best memory, but God, do I remember the visceral panic of making sure that every single step was exactly as I wanted it and that I was really feeling the music. And that has really stayed with me. And so I think that urge and that craving to just make it, just create something that feels like it lives inside the music and then, outpours from there has always just been part of me. And that was a little solo in my little, chiffon skirt. And then I choreographed a few smaller pieces and solos and duets in high school. And then when I went to college, the Harvard Ballet Company, which is a student-run company, offers students the opportunity to create and to create on their fellow students. And so that was extraordinary because that meant that I could have any number of hours per week to work with my friends and make dance. And that's really where I developed my love because it was this warm community of people who were like me, who were also balancing academics on this side, but just found their solace in the dance studio. And between that and the support of Liz Bergman creating works through the Harvard Dance Department, I started to create increasingly over the next few years.
I love these conversations because I love hearing the path of creativity. And it's just, it's so inspiring to hear how it seems like everybody that I've interviewed, that we've had these conversations, there's a need there. And I love hearing how people when they need dance, they will find ways. And it's always inspiring. And you know what? It's funny. You just reminded me, I completely blanked on this, but when I was 5 years old, there was a talent contest. And that was my first choreography. I can't believe this has just come back to me. And I did a Charleston dance to this old song, 5'2", Eyes of Blue. And I can't believe it. And I was petrified.
Yeah. Right.
Petrified. Because it was a contest. And that for my 5-year-old self, I was like, oh, and nothing good came of it. Now you reminded me.
It worked out.
Well, yeah, much better. In 2020, you were named choreographer in residence at Atlanta Ballet, as I shared in the beginning of the conversation. With more than 30 ballets choreographed all over the United States, what ideas call to you now? You went into this a bit when we talked about your sociology degree and sociology being a part of creating. But still, what other ideas call to you now? And then I'm going to go into the fact that you also have your own company. But let's start with that question.
Sure. Yeah, so the beauty of as you know, the beauty of having a company to call your home is that there's greater freedom to explore ideas and from a multitude of angles because you don't have to just, get the one thing in that one time and then move on.
Yeah.
And I had the pleasure of making a ballet called First Impulse for them that premiered in September of 2019. And then the pandemic hit. And so coming back into all of this, um, the ideas that I had to create, I'd come off a long line of just, the summer was tough. It was a hard summer, and there was a lot of self discovery and self exploration on top of, engaging with the global conversations about the incredibly necessary societal, economic, governmental shifts that need to occur. And so my heart and my brain were split between I need to speak to this moment and make this feel true to what I'm experiencing. And also, I just need to move and play and experience the joy of dance again because it's been so long since I could do anything that didn't involve, smacking an elbow into my bedroom while trying to create something. And so I was, provided with the opportunity through being, resident at Atlanta to actually work on two projects simultaneously. One of these is this ensemble work, Pleiades Dances, it's a 20-minute ballet in 11 sections set to solo piano music by a composer named Takashi Yoshimatsu. And I love complex meters. I love driving rhythms, and it has all of that. And it has a sense of play, and I got to play around with shapes and forms, and the movement is really loose and grounded and playful in a way that just felt right to the moment. And so first I got to do that with the dancers, and it just got us moving again because no one had been moving for a year, and I wasn't moving. And then I got into the studio last week, and it was just the most blissful experience to just fly across a room finally. So that's been, from what inspires me, just getting to move and engage with dancers and create. And then simultaneously, I was offered the opportunity to create a work for Guggenheim Works in Process for their virtual commission series. And Duke Dang, who is the head of the program, said, "Why don't you do something with Atlanta Ballet?" Which I thought was absolutely the right decision. And there's this beautiful dancer named Keith Reeves who I've been working with, and
I know.
yeah, I love Keith, and he's developing wonderfully. And I felt compelled to make a film that wasn't just dance on film, wasn't just a solo, and that spoke to the moment in a way that felt right to me and to the people that I'm engaging with. And so we shot it in and around Atlanta. And it'll premiere soon, actually, I think in a week or two. And that, I was bouncing between choreographing this joyful, uplifting, vibrant piece and something that is much more about a black man just trying to make his way through his day. And it's for black people for whom, daily existence is just purely survival. And I feel as connected to that message now as I do the other. And so it's to be able to do both with the same company at the same time has been a true gift.
Yeah. A tandem of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Yeah. So Atlanta Ballet is not your only home company. I mean, you are the artistic director of Claudia Schreier and Company, where you have presented since 2015 several full-length works. Can you please tell us more about this company, your company, whom you create with, and then do you see the two homes feeding each other perhaps it's just rather than actual physicality, perhaps it's ideas or yeah.
Yes. So when I self-produce, it's typically a full evening, and it's a combination of works that I've created previously that I'm developing or reimagining for this newer performance, and then fresh works as well. And I did my first major one was at the Ailey City Group Theater in 2015. And then I did the Joyce Theater Ballet Festival in 2017. I went to Tahoe, Lake Tahoe, I think in 2016 as well. And there's just been a number of opportunities to self-produce, which means that not only am I, finding music and creating to it, but I'm doing all of the production and the planning and the fundraising and the organizing and the scheduling and every single thing that goes into a performance. Like you have your crew, you have the people who work with you, but it's a more holistic approach to putting forth your own work. And so you have to know the ins and outs of every single thing that happens. And I love, when I say I'm a choreographer, as you know, you're not really just a choreographer. You're also a costume designer. You're a lighting designer. You're a mediator. I mean, it runs the full spectrum of everything. And so we are creators. And so even if it's not a purely, even if I'm talking about movement specifically, we're still crafting and creating this experience, this full evening experience for the audience. And that I think I take back to when I'm just not just, but when I'm creating a work as a commission, because you learn enough about yourself to know that I am capable of reaching out to that composer and having them compose new music for me, or I want to work with that artist, or this thing inspires me, or I saw a shape on the side of the road and now I'm going to make something. Like there's just, I think when you do more and you're responsible for more, your brain expands, and then that you can take back to other things you do. So there's always this wonderful push and pull between having to do everything and then just kind of honing in on the craft.
Yeah, totally agree. I about the expansion of the brain through being stretched. And I'm sure you felt this too, but during this year I was stretched in completely different ways because I refused not to be creative. So and I learned so much, and I feel like this wealth. Listen, I'm never going to say that I'm happy for this year, but I have to say that this forced into situation gave me time to dig back into discovery. And I feel like this was a huge growth period, like when I got my graduate degree. That just blew the barn doors off my ideas. And I feel like this year is a similar gestation period that is really going to start, like you, being very affected by the socioeconomic changes, the social changes, the things that came to light that have always been there, but because of video, we actually, can't hide anymore. All of these ideas came up. The idea is, okay, what does hiding mean? What has been allowed to be not so far in the shadows, I mean, for a certain group of people, never in the shadows, but it's like, so it sounds very, very exciting right now for you as well to have this, I guess, new array of possibility, right? I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, which is truly remarkable. Thank you. Thank you. There was something I was going to say to it, but I've forgotten because I got off track. So I'll go to the next question. Claudia, you are the recipient of the 2018 Princess Grace Award for Choreography, the 2018 NEFA National Dance Project Award, the 2018 Dance NYC Dance Advancement Fund supported by the Ford Foundation, 2017 Lotus Foundation Prize for Dance, the 2008 Suzanne Farrell Dance Prize for recognition for outstanding artistry in the field of dance, and the winner of the 2014 Breaking Glass Dance Project Choreographic Competition. In addition, you received the 2017 Virginia B. Toulmin Fellowship for Women Choreographers at the Center for Ballet and the Arts at NYU. Can you explain further what these awards and prizes were attributed to? I would like to hear from you rather than me just say what they're for. It's more interesting hearing from you. And were they works created for your company? That's also what I want to know. And now I remember what I wanted to say. Very often from like, I found this out in my new title for, when it says choreography, Claudia Schreier, I would now say, I now am going to say concepts and choreography by. I feel like it's encompassing, right? Because I feel like not everybody in the audience knows how all encompassing choreography is. So going back to, can you explain further what these words and prizes were attributed to?
Sure. Yeah. So it's a mix. Some of them are specifically for in supportive works. I think the NIFA grant it was for that for my ballet Passage for Dance Theater of Harlem, which premiered in spring of 2019. Um, some are in recognition of work and like the development of your career. I think the Lotus was for that, and Princess Grace, which was also associated with DTH. Um, the Dance Advancement Fund through the Ford Foundation and Dance NYC, that was specifically for my company. And so that was a grant to allow me to produce work. And so as you see, like there's all these different ways that artists are supported. And it's just, a question of the circumstance.
Okay, beautiful. So you've been involved in so many truly remarkable dance endeavors. To name just two, you served as ballet master and production assistant for the 2017 Kennedy Center Honors Tribute to the dance icon Carmen de Lavallade, and who held the position of manager of editorial content at the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater for 7 years before leaving in 2017 to devote your full attention to your choreography, voice, and your career. In reading the scope of your accomplishments, I arrived at the conclusion that you are a gatherer of information and experiences. This circles right back in my mind to the idea of sociology um, and anthropology and ethnography. What areas call to you, again, similar question to before, but as far as gathering for your next creation? So where do you feel like you, I guess, let's say in the greater concept of gathering and experiencing and keeping your antenna up, and then the things that are brewing, let's say.
Mm-hmm. I think it all comes back to collaboration right now and interdisciplinary work. I think some of my favorite projects over the last few years, if I really think about it, have been with collaborating with opera, collaborating with visual artists, doing film, working directly with directors. And that not only because of the project itself, but because of how it informs how I work going forward. I always take a little piece away from that in terms of how they work, how they conceive of movement, whether it's linear or they do things out of order, and how they see shape, how they see color, line, texture, rhythm. Like it's really there's a lot of shared language. There's a lot of Venn diagrams that you'll find when you are working with other artists, and they may not be trained professional dancers, but there's a commonality to artists that is really beautiful and exciting to explore. And the more that I go into that, the more I take from it, and the more that I learn, the more that I want to bring to the next project. And so that's really where my heart is now, is kind of finding those moments, whether and that can be within the context of a proscenium stage commission. But you might find a visual artist to do your backdrop that you would never have thought of otherwise. You might do a totally different take on lighting design because you've learned about natural light through working with a scientist. There's so many different ways to go about it. But I think, again, because of this past year, I think I'm a little less afraid. I'm not afraid to kind of break outside the box and try some, like, quote unquote wackier things. because if not now, then when? So I'm looking forward to kind of finding those people and making cool stuff together.
Yeah, collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe it also, it can create, I'm going to say it, the best art.
Yeah.
This community of voices, and backgrounds and history, and views, how each person sees and feels and hears the world. Yeah, I'm with you there. Beautiful. So, here we are. Wow, this went so fast. Can you share, doesn't have to be one, but something that comes up for you maybe spontaneously, a favorite or impactful memory or memories from your creative life?
That's such a hard question. It's there's too many. The one of the things that, in terms of impactful, one of the things that comes to mind immediately, I think, is when I got the call that I was going to receive the fellowship to NYU, because that up until that point, I knew that choreography was my passion, and wanted and needed to do it in some way. But it was this giant green light that said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is a way to do it. And now you have carte blanche to just go and carve your own path. And up until that point, I was working full time, and then I was choreographing full time. It wasn't just a side thing at that point. I really had two parallel lives that I was trying to keep separate for as long as I could. And it just got to the point where it was unsustainable. And so to have this organization, Center for Ballet and the Arts, and the Toolman Foundation, headed by Alex Sanger, who's a wonderful, wonderful supporter, say to me, go forth and create, is it's such a gift. And I remember I got the call standing on the street, and part of the reason it sticks with me is, I got the call and I was like, oh my God, my life is going to change. But then I had to go to rehearsal. I was going to Ballet Academy East up the street. I had just left work and I needed to jump in. I was going to do some preparation in my notebook before class, and I didn't have time to really dwell on it because I had to keep just going forward and go on to the next thing. So I remember I wasn't even thinking about it when I went into rehearsal. Got the rehearsal done, and then went home, got myself a little tiny bottle of champagne to celebrate, and that was it. But it was kind of, it's symbolic of the experience, in that you just have to keep going forward, and things may come at you and they may not, but you just have to keep trucking and make it work for you.
Yeah, and what an amazing mindset also for this past year, right?
Just keep going.
Can't stop. Or you can.
Right. Yeah, and that's okay too. That's
Yeah.
also really important. It's really important to know when it's the time for you to press pause, reflect, take a breather, sleep,
Yeah.
uh, and do the things that nourish you in other ways that may not be your chosen art form.
Exactly, because then full circle, what does that do? It feeds your art form. It's yeah, beautiful. And was there another one you wanted to share?
Oh, there really are so many. um, I think, like very recently, just stepping back into the studio and having that thrill and that rush of moving with the dancers and problem solving. And my favorite part of choreographing is honestly, once it's done and you can refine and it kind of becomes greater than itself. That's my favorite thing.
Me too.
It's my absolute favorite.
I love it.
It's wonderful. Yeah, and so I just, being able to be present for that part of it, where it all starts to coalesce, and there are these little moments, and you can kind of catch things out of the corner of your eye, like, oh, let's do that, and it just, it just becomes greater than what was in your head, and that's kind of the magic of it. That it is a communal process. It is something that has to be greater than yourself and what's in your brain. And so just having the gift of returning to the studio and working with these wonderful, kind, very giving dancers, is really special.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I'm getting so itchy. I can't wait. Um, and then what about insights that you could share perhaps about living a creative life?
Mhm. Well, I think that goes back to what we were just talking about, in that living a full, a fully formed, fully fledged life, allowing yourself to go outside and to smell fresh air and read a book, and just engage with your friends and your family to the extent that we can right now. I find that when I have a creative block, it's often because I'm trying to recycle the same idea and make it work, and so often it's me fighting against my own brain and not the issue itself. And sometimes it's taking a step back and finding inspiration in unexpected places and in unexpected ways can just kind of burst you forward in ways that you wouldn't have expected. So yeah, I think just allowing yourself, like, it's okay to be frustrated if you feel like you have a creative block or you're not really going where you want to, but to live a creative life, I think, means that you are live like, like it sounds like living a creative life, not just living a creative career, not living a creative day to day, in the studio out, but finding moments to make connections that will inspire you, whether or not you know it at the time, but they will kind of inspire you in other ways.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Last big question. I always save, this is the big one I save to the end. In supporting and building a more equitable dance community, what are some specific daily practices that we can be active with?
Oh, there's so many things. I think making space first and foremost for marginalized communities, and bringing others up with us. From a very practical perspective, I believe so strongly in early access to music education and dance education and arts education in general. And when we ask questions about why is there a lack of XYZ, whether it be, black dancers, female choreographers. There are so many of us, as we know, who aren't being given the opportunity to create. So we make space for those people, but we also have to look to where they're coming from. And if the opportunities aren't created from day one at the outset, you're not going to have as much to choose from. And that's a long-term investment. That's not something that will happen overnight. And that requires broad conversations, creating coalitions, and establishing foundations that will serve us and serve us as a community greater in the long term. But it really means, sacrificing the short term thrill of just kind of giving opportunity to one or two, so that we are shifting as a society overall going forward.
Totally agree. The short-term thrill, as we've seen in the recent past, has really kind of put a chokehold in some of and how we develop in our ballet world. Coming from Forsyth, I know what opportunity and space. I've lived it. I know what can happen in the ballet world. Not talking about dance in general, the ballet world. And I totally agree about that. I had it's so long ago now, but Teresa Ruth Howard was a guest, and we both came to this kind of at the same time, that we've discovered that in separate ways and equal ways, that change, one of the big excuses with change is that it needs time. And we both came to the statement that, well, it needs as much time as the people who are actually in charge of changing it. So some change can happen faster than we think.
Mm-hmm.
Like implementation, that takes time to grow, but do it now.
Right.
Do the implementation now. And then also, there are people out there right now,
Only
where we could have
capable. Yeah.
more seats.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's that scarcity complex, right? And then that scarcity complex starts, the people that have had it, let's say more or all, well, what's going to happen to me? That kind of thing. And that's the kind of thing that those conversations, more and more, let's just have them. And let's realize that nobody's going to lose anything. We can only gain.
By broadening it. Yeah.
That's what I believe. And I do see it happening, but it can, that's just not, I saw Gloria's, I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's about Gloria Steinem, and it's done quite well because it's done in 4 ages of her, and they're all speaking in the movie. And when I think about my mom, who was a part of Now in ERA back when I was a kid, and how that kind of, I mean, it's been there, but we know what a backseat, or really, really backseat, it took for so many years again, and now things are coming up again. But that's my hope, is that I really want this action not to be an action of a time.
Right.
I want, and I think we're responsible for that, aren't we?
Absolutely.
That the voice keeps going and the action keeps going. Claudia, es sollte einfach Deutsch sprechen. Da. Claudia, it was such a pleasure to sit with you and have our first conversation with each other, and to hear from you, and to hear your generosity and your inspiration. Thank you very much, first of all. I always say, let's do this without an interview. Let's just get on the phone and talk, and talk together about art. So I want to direct viewers to find out more about you. So can you tell us the various platforms that you have where people can go and find out more about you?
Sure. Yeah, my website, claudiaschreier.com. I'm on Instagram, Claudia Schreier, and Vimeo. You can find me there too.
Beautiful. And then they can probably also find something out more about you at the Atlanta Ballet website, correct?
Correct, yes. And then our premiere will be March 19th.
Great. And that is something that's good, that anybody can tune into.
Yes, it will be free online. I'm not sure for how long it'll be streamed, but I think for at least a week or two, if not more.
Beautiful. March 19th. Okay. So we have new guests every week. Our next interview will feature Jennifer Archibald, freelance choreographer and resident choreographer for Cincinnati Ballet. Now is my time for thanks. Gracie Spina, thank you very much for everything you do. Thank you to the dance world for always providing a new perspective and all the support through all these years. And Claudia, again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see your new work.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.